MP Nikki Ashton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chief Turtle, thank you for being here today. And I want to share that on behalf of my colleague Georgina Jolibois and Charlie Angus, our leader Jagmeet Singh, that we stand with your community. We are horrified that this yet one more delay has taken place, and we stand with you in urging the government to act immediately. Given the sensitive timing of the issue, for us it's very important that you have the chance to hear from somebody who's worked with you very closely on this, and that's why we'd like to cede our time to Jane Philpott.
I thank the NDP very much for the opportunity to have some time here. I greet you, Chief Turtle. Thank you for your phone call a couple of nights ago and our conversation again yesterday. Want to send greetings to the entire Asubi Shosi Wagang community. And I want to speak in support of the request that the community has made for a trust fund. And I think I share that sentiment with my colleagues who have offered me this time. Chief, when we talked about this, you gave me the reasons why you believe it's important. We talked about the moral imperative, the fact that thousands of people, both in your community and in surrounding communities, have been impacted by the mercury contamination in the English Wabigoon River system, and that there is no other group of Canadians that would expect to have suffered such health consequences and not have appropriate health facilities to treat them. The commitment was made on behalf of the government, as I know very well, and I believe that it's incumbent upon the government to continue with that commitment. The clear clinical need you and others have outlined, and I urge people who haven't read the Mergler report to do so. It does outline not only the effects on adults, but on the severe neurological effects on children, effects of mercury contamination. Chief, you talked to me about the exceptional circumstances that you're under, and that is why you have asked for this $89 million trust. And so I have my question for you is, what do you think are the reasons why it has not come to pass? And I have a list of 5 potential theories that I have, and I wonder if any of them are things that you have as to reasons why this agreement has not yet been reached. Earlier, the officials talked about the fact that it was the mechanism that was the debate, the mechanism of a contribution agreement versus a trust fund. I wonder if, in fact, it's not so much the mechanism, but the amount of money, because the amount of money in the trust fund is significantly larger, in the order of $89 million. However, I would argue that $89 million one can calculate to be 0.025% of what the federal government is going to spend this year. And I think most Canadians would argue that spending 0.025% of this year's money in order to give 30 years of treatment to the people of Grassy Narrows is a very good investment. The second possibility I have heard is a question of time, and officials talked about the fact that they didn't have time to prepare the details of the trust fund. I wonder, Chief, whether you think that the thousands of officials who work in Indigenous Services Canada, along with their colleagues, the thousands of officials who work in Finance Canada, could not somehow find the time over the next couple of weeks in order to write up what would be necessary for a trust fund, knowing that there are examples in Ontario, for example, and others that we've heard about this morning that could be seen as a template for this. The third theory that I have is that it's a lack of political will. I don't actually believe that to be the case. I know my colleagues in the Liberal Party and in the government who want to do right by Indigenous peoples. So it is my sense that that is not the actual problem. I think there is, as others have said here, a shared political will of all members of Parliament to see justice for the people of Asubi Shosi Wagang, and I think that is not likely the reason. One of the theories I have, then, the fourth theory, is the trust issue. And the minister, I think, spoke last week about the fact that possibly you weren't trusting the government to be able to come through with the long-term expenses. My theory is that perhaps it's the other way around. Do you think it's possible that the government doesn't trust you and your officials to be able to administer a trust fund appropriately? So I'll put that to you as a possibility. And the fifth area that I think may be a stumbling block is that this would, as my understanding, be because of the size of an $89 million trust fund, require an off-cycle budget ask in a government that's just tabled its final budget. If that is the case, Chief, I wonder if there's a way that we could support you, and perhaps members of this committee could support you by collectively asking the Minister of Finance to consider the possibility of an off-cycle budget ask, even at this late stage, in order to find the money necessary for this trust fund. Imagine the legacy that this government could share with yourself and your community, Chief, as well as the members of Parliament of this particular 42nd Parliament, if in fact this could be put in place before the end of the term. So I'd be interested in your thoughts as to whether there are other reasons that I haven't considered, and in what ways we could support you in order to be successful in the coming weeks.
Don't have much time, only about just over a minute.
Okay. Well, first of all, I believe that anything is possible. I believe where there's a will, it can be done. So it's just a matter of if they're willing to do it, it can be done. If Ontario can do it, why not the feds? That's been my thought. So it's not impossible like the way they're saying. It can be done. I have no doubts it can be done. Just have to do it.
Thank you.